Welcome back to the Belief Lab. I'm Dr. Wendi Zimmer, and I'm so excited that you have joined me today because the Belief Lab is where belief becomes your greatest advantage. And so if you're new here today, welcome. Welcome to this episode of the Belief Lab. This is actually our 6th episode. And so if you have watched all 6, thank you very much. If this is the first place that you have ever joined us today, if today's the first day, then I want you to know that this is a space where we take research and neuroscience and mindset and turn into simple, repeatable tools that actually help you move forward. Because there's such a misnomer around mindset, and that mindset is purely up in your head, and that is completely incorrect. Mindset and belief is about action. And that's what the Belief Lab is for, to help you take action over the life that you want. If you've been here before, then you already know that belief isn't a feeling that you're waiting for. It's a skill that you train. And today, I am so excited because I'm going to teach you how to train your belief in 10 seconds flat. Because let's be real, most of us don't have more than 10 seconds most days. So today is action-packed, filled with 3 very, very easy, relatable points that you can take action to increase your belief today. So make sure you stay to the end so you get all of the wonderful research and strategies that I'm going to share with you today. So let's get started. Let's take a minute to be honest. Unfortunately, confidence is not a permanent state. Even if you are the most capable, composed, and accomplished person that you know, you have to continue to work on your confidence. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Everybody does. Anyone that you see that comes across as confident or really believes in themselves, it's something that they continue to work on every single day. Because even the most accomplished people have those moments when their belief just seems to vanish. Just vanish. And they don't know why, and they don't know where it went, and yesterday it was great, and today it's not. And if that is you, I feel you. It happens to me all the time. Even though I teach mindset and I teach belief, it's something that I have to work on a daily basis. Because one minute we're ready to pitch and lead and speak and create and showcase just how incredible that we are. And the next minute our brain starts to take over. And it whispers, who do you think you are? Why are you here? You're not ready. What if you fail? What are they going to say or think about you if you don't come across as the way that they perceive you will? And if we don't keep that voice in check, that voice is the voice that speaks louder. That voice is the voice that wins out. And I want you to know that those voices are not proof that you're weak. They're proof that you're expanding. They're proof that you're growing. Because if you weren't trying something new, you'd have no chance to fail. If you weren't getting outside your comfort zone, there'd be no conversation in your head about if you're ready or not. Because the people who rise in life aren't the ones who never doubt. They're the ones who know how to reset faster. They're the ones who know how to train their brain and not let those little tiny whispering negative thoughts derail them. And so that's what we're doing today. I'm going to give you a tool that I call the 10-second belief reset. And it's a fast, science-backed strategy to interrupt those thoughts, to interrupt the doubts that are in your mind and regulate your mind and body so you can move forward with confidence before your brain has a chance to talk you out of it. Because if you give your brain a chance, it will talk you out of it. Here's the truth. Doubt isn't the enemy, but staying stuck in that doubt, that's the enemy. So, how do we overcome it? That leads me to our first point today. And point number 1 is that doubt is a signal, not a stop sign. Everyone has doubt. Everyone has doubt on a daily basis. If not, some days seems like moment-to-moment basis. But doubt doesn't mean you're not ready. It means that you're right where growth is going to begin. Because if you weren't trying something new, if you weren't stretching outside your comfort zone, if you weren't putting yourself in a situation where you were willing and able and wanting to grow, there wouldn't be any doubt anyway. You would just be coasting through life. When you coast through life, there's not a lot of opportunity for doubt. But who wants that? If you're here listening today, you don't want that. And I don't want that for you. And I believe you're capable of so much more. So let's figure out a way then to see doubt as a signal, not as a way to stop you in your tracks. Doubt is one of the brain's natural responses to uncertainty. When you're not sure what's going to come next, if you're not sure of the plan or the process, if there's questions in your mind around how am I going to accomplish this, or how am I going to achieve what I want, or how do I overcome whatever this looks like. But doubt is actually a protection mechanism. It's not a prediction. It's not I can see in the future and figure out what's going to happen and I should worry about all these pieces. It's a protection mechanism that's been built into our DNA for years. And actually the same neural pathway that lights up when you face danger, that thing in your brain that tells you like, hey, be careful, be careful, be careful, this could be dangerous, you need to protect yourself, also activates when you face opportunity. Because there is brain development there as well. It's the same process in your mind. Your brain literally can't tell the difference between uncertainty and fear. So we often treat uncertainty as fear, but we can completely frame this differently. Harvard Business Review did research a couple of years ago. It was a 2022 survey, and what they found is 71% of high performers, so like you and me, report moments of deep self-doubt right before their biggest breakthroughs, right before they accomplish something they've been wanting, right before they achieve that goal, right before something, an opportunity that they've been wanting comes in front of them. But the problem is we often see that doubt, again, as a wall, as a barrier. And so it causes us to stop, where if we push through that doubt, and instead of treating it like fear, treat it as a signal, that's where our biggest breakthroughs are going to live. There's also more research that digs into thinking about how our brain focuses around doubt. So Stanford neuroscientists found that uncertainty activates your amygdala. So if you're not familiar with brain research, your amygdala is this little almond-shaped piece of your brain that is often called your alarm center because it releases cortisol, it releases adrenaline, and it's a stress response that's designed to protect you. Again, going back to years ago when we were chased by wild animals and we had to fight to survive and we had to hunt to survive. There was a time in our lives that was necessary. We had to protect. That amygdala didn't make us freeze, because if we had frozen and paralyzed in fear, then we would have been hurt or killed. We would not have been able to protect ourselves. And while most of us are not in a situation where we have to physically protect ourselves anymore, that amygdala still creates that I must protect response. I must protect response. But too often we allow it to paralyze us instead. But the other piece of your brain that is involved in this conversation is your prefrontal cortex. And that piece of your brain is the logical decision-making part. And it can override that alarm. It can override that, oh my gosh, I must protect you, if we train our brains, to label the doubt correctly. Label it as a signal, not a stop sign. And I call this cognitive labeling. And this is actually based on research. And what cognitive labeling says is that simply naming what's happening by saying, oh, this is growth. This is me learning something new. This is me leaning into wanting more, to opportunity. I am not in danger. Just labeling that feeling correctly reduces your fear and reduces the power of fear by up to 30%. Because you're telling your brain, okay, I understand what's going on. I understand you're trying to protect me. This is not a situation where you need to protect me. I am not in danger. I am not worried about my physical safety. Okay? This is growth. I am growing. I don't want to coast through life anymore. I want to thrive. I want to truly be in a situation where I'm living my best life. So when doubt hits, when you're not sure and you're like, what is going on? Why am I so uncertain? Why am I so afraid of this situation? Stop where you are and name it. Figure out what is going on. What is it that's worrying me so much? And name it. Is it growth? Is it development? Is it uncertainty? And tell your brain, this isn't a warning. You don't need to protect me. It's a sign that I'm stretching and growing, and I want to. This is a good thing. Because that 3-second reframe is your first step in rewiring belief. And it only takes 3 seconds because you just stop and you go, okay, doubt isn't danger, it's data. Period. I'm doubting myself, I'm doubting the situation, I'm doubting the circumstances. Stop. Realize that I am not in danger. I'm not in danger of something happening to me. This is data. This is data for me to use to move forward. And once you recognize that doubt is just data, it's not destiny, it's not your worries and stress about the next 5-10 years, it's just data, then we have to learn what to do with it. And that's where the 10-second belief reset comes in. And it's a technique that I use and I teach others on how to reprogram your body and mind in real time. And that leads me to point number 2. So what actually is the 10-second belief reset? So before I go into all the steps, I want you to recognize that confidence doesn't come from controlling your thoughts. It comes from interrupting the wrong ones. I'm going to say that again. Confidence doesn't come from controlling your thoughts. It comes from interrupting the wrong ones. Interrupt the thoughts that cause you to be afraid, that cause you to be unclear, that cause you to be uncertain, that cause you to not believe in yourself. Because those thoughts are not helping you. They're not helping you grow. They're not making you a better person. They are putting up a stop sign. So we've got to figure out, how do I interrupt the wrong thoughts? And that's where the 10-second belief reset comes in. Because this reset really works. It really works. Most people think that you have to journal or meditate or wait hours to feel different. But what the 10-second belief reset teaches us is that speed can be your friend. Speed is not the enemy, because you don't have to spend hours reflecting on things that have happened. Neuroscience research actually shows us that emotional states last about 90 seconds. 90 seconds. So whatever emotional state you're in, it lasts about 1.5 minutes. And that emotional state, if you don't feed it with new thoughts, then you disrupt what's happening. So if you're in a negative emotional state, if you don't continue to add negative thoughts to the spiral that you're on, then you disrupt it. And obviously the adverse is true. If you're in a positive emotional state, if you keep that positive feeling, those positive emotions going with positive words and affirmations and things that are going on, then you stay in that upward spiral. If you don't, then you disrupt that as well. So you have to think about, when do I want to disrupt my emotional state and when I don't want to disrupt my emotional state. Because you can disrupt a belief spiral in under 10 seconds. That emotional state only lasts 90 seconds unless you continue to fuel it, but you can interrupt it in under 10 seconds. And this is called cognitive reframing. And this is research that comes from the mid to late 1970s. So it's been around for a while. And what cognitive reframing teaches us is that rapid mental language shifts. Okay, that those changes in your mental language. If you're speaking negatively to yourself and you shift to speaking positively, or vice versa, so saying I can't to I can change your physiological state that quickly. That quickly. Instead of saying I can't do this, saying I can do this. Just like that. And one deep breath will lower your cortisol and heart rate variability. And that activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So we're not going to dig too deep into your parasympathetic, woo, that's a mouthful, nervous system today. But that is the calm, clear thinking part of your brain. Because when you're in that negative emotional state, when you're in that negative spiral, your brain is not thinking clearly and it's not calm. If your amygdala is saying, I must protect, I must protect, I must protect, I must protect, you are not calm. There's no part of you that's like, oh, it's fine, I'm in danger, it's not a big deal. You have all kinds of alarms firing in your brain. So do I. It's how our brain works. So we've got to figure out, how do I shift? How do I start by shifting my language, but also my physical posture, my physical behavior as well. So I want to practice real quick, regardless of where you are today. And if you can close your eyes, great. If you can't, like, please don't close your eyes while you're driving or if you're in a situation where it's unsafe. But close your eyes. And I want you to just take a second to breathe. And there's multiple different ways to breathe. One of my favorites, sometimes people call the breathe square or whatever you want to call it, but you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds. So let's try that 3 times. Ready? Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Again, breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Last time. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Okay, now breathe normally. How do you feel? I know my heart rate is noticeably slower and calmer. My shoulders, if you were watching me, you probably saw my whole posture. Now I sit up straight because I had my hands on my chest, but my whole posture relaxed. Because I am interrupting that negative spiral. And there's other ways to breathe. And there's also research around how it's helpful if you breathe out for double the amount of time that you breathe in. So obviously pick the breath method that makes the most sense for you. But taking a deep breath and then reframing what you're thinking. Instead of saying, I can't, I won't, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough. Interrupt that negative spiral. And so there's actually 4 steps around this. And generally they take about 10 seconds, which is where you get your 10-second belief reset. The first is to pause. Don't react. Don't freak out. Don't have those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, and I have all this doubt, and I don't know what's happening, and I don't know how to, handle the situation, or whatever it looks like. Just pause for a second. Don't react, because that interrupts the spiral. That makes you stop that negative talk in your head. And then take a deep breath. Even if it's just 1 deep breath. Okay. Then declare something out loud that interrupts that spiral. Maybe it's, I believe I can. I believe I will. I am good enough. I have the ability to. I have resources that will help me. Something positive that interrupts that reset. And then the last part of your 10-second belief reset is to act. Take 1 small step forward, whatever that is. Maybe it's an email you need to send. Maybe it's a video you need to record. Maybe it's a time where you raise your hand and you ask a question or you volunteer for something. So that's it. That's your 10 seconds. You pause, you breathe, you declare, and you act. And it takes 10 seconds. And it takes practice. Because we don't automatically go, oh, I'm not going to react. I'm just going to pause. For me, that's the hardest part, is stopping the spiral when I see it happening. So the more you practice, the more you'll get in the habit of, okay. This is doubt. It's not fear. And doubt is data. It's not a stop sign. So now I have to go through my 10-second reset. I'm going to pause, I'm going to breathe, I'm going to declare, I'm going to act. And that combination of language, breath, and movement creates a triad of reset. Because breathing helps you regulate your body, your thoughts. The language you use helps you reframe the way you think about yourself, the way you think about the situation. It helps you to name what's going on around you. And then that movement reinforces it. The action that you take reinforces the now shift in your spiral. And hopefully it flips the spiral and has it go the other direction. Because you're literally teaching your brain that belief is the new default. This is habits that we are building. Stanford did some research on this a couple of years ago, and a researcher named Dr. Kelly McGonigal, what she found is that choosing to interrupt stress as readiness increases performance and confidence. So we've got to choose. It's a choice. We can choose to stay in that negative spiral and just spiral out of control, or we can choose to pause, breathe, declare, and act. It's our choice. But something that I hope you recognize with this is that belief isn't built in silence. It's built in motion. We can't just sit and silently suffer. We can't sit and silently fear what's happening to us. We have to take action on it. And when you practice that 10-second reset consistently, something powerful happens because you stop chasing confidence and you start generating it. You start making confidence happen within you, which then, if it starts internally, it will present itself externally as well. And so that brings us to the final shift, or the third part in our conversation today. And that third point is that confidence grows from action, not readiness. None of us, I shouldn't say none, it's a probably gross over-realization, or over-exaggeration, but majority of people would tell you that when they go to start something, they were not ready. Or they waited until they were ready, and that's why it took them so long to get started. Nowhere is there research on you have to wait until you're ready. It just doesn't exist. Because many of us will never feel ready. We don't have to wait until we believe that we can do something to take action. You have to act. We all have to act until we believe. We have to stack the proof. And I love the thought behind stacking the proof. If you've never heard stack the proof before, essentially it's putting yourself in a situation where you're like, okay, I am here today because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, pick the things, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, everything. I would not be here today without all of those things. And many of them are successful. But we spend so much time focusing on the aspects of our lives that are not successful, and we gloss over the ones that are. The things we've accomplished that were challenging and we did it anyway. The successes that we've had along our lives, whether they were small or large. We gloss over those because we're like, okay, did the thing, yay, maybe had a little party, maybe didn't, moved on to whatever's next. But the negative things in our life, the things that don't go the way we want them to, the areas where we don't feel as successful, we just live in. We allow them to live rent-free in our head. So instead, if we stop and we think, okay, I have done all of these things. I should believe in myself. And y'all know I hate the word should. But what would that look like if I capitalize on all of my successes? And instead of saying, well, I can't take an act, I can't make an action now, I can't act now because I don't believe I'm ready, or I don't believe I can do it. What if it's like, here's all the things that I have done. Here's all the ways that I have proven I am completely capable of achieving amazing success. And I use that belief to then spearhead or catapult the next action. And then that action leads to additional belief. Because confidence is not a prerequisite. It is a byproduct. As I take action, I believe in myself more. And as I believe in myself more, I take additional action. And as I take additional action, I believe in myself more. It is this constant building. It's a byproduct of actually doing something. And this is known as the confidence to competence loop. Bandera wrote about this in 1986 and then on, but this is when the concept was first established. And the idea behind the confidence to competence loop is that you act, essentially what I just told you. You act, which creates proof that you can do it. And then that proof builds belief. And then that belief generates confidence. And then that confidence drives further action. So it's not just my thoughts. It's based in research. And it's a cycle that you can trigger anytime you choose to move instead of hesitate. Anytime where you're like, I could sit here and I could wait, or I could do, all the prep work, but not actually do any of the action. Or I can start taking action today and not hesitate. And then, as Bandera says in his confidence-competence loop, I act, I create proof, that proof builds belief, that belief generates confidence, and that confidence drives further action. It's a constant cycle that leads to success. I want to give you a little real-world evidence and research to back this up. And what they have found, actually in 2020, so not too long ago, the University of Pennsylvania did a study. And what they realized is what they now call the behavioral activation theory. And that theory shows that taking one intentional step during self-doubt, so even if you're doubting yourself, if you take one intentional step, and intentionality is important, then your self-doubt increases self-efficacy by 40%. Just in that one little action. One step, when you're not believing in yourself, increases your self-efficacy. I apologize, y'all, words today. Increases your self-efficacy, which is your belief. So one intentional small step when you don't believe in yourself increases your belief in yourself by 40% in one single session. Navy SEALs use this all the time. They call them micro actions, where you break these massive tasks into small, easily consumable, easily attainable chunks, easily winnable moments. And that helps you maintain momentum under pressure. You're worried about accomplishing this giant task. Don't worry about the giant task. Take one little task at a time. One completely winnable, achievable task. And those will help build up over time. Because our brains reward progress, not perfection. So don't go out hoping for perfection. You're going to fail and you're going to set yourself up for unrealistic expectations. So instead, look at progress. Focus on the small wins, because each small win releases dopamine in your brain, which reinforces that action is safe. That doubt is data. It's not fear. You are safe. Taking action is safe. So something you can do starting today if you want, that really will reinforce this idea is what I call a proof log. And a proof log is just a journal. If you're a paper pencil person, I have journals. I actually have 3 sitting here at the moment. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, I'm holding up 3 journals. Or if you're a digital person, you can keep track on your phone. And each day write down one sentence. One sentence that's proof that you acted before you were ready. One intentional step that you did that day to work toward what it is that you want. And over time, this log, this journal, becomes your personal archive of belief in motion. Tangible proof that you can trust yourself. You're stacking the proof. Tangible proof that you can do hard things because you can. Confidence is not given. It's earned one action at a time, one step at a time. So you just have to take one step today. One step today. And the difference that will make in your future is just immeasurable. So when doubt walks in, and it will today, it might in the next minute. Don't feel like you have to fight it. You can't fight it. Reset it. 10 seconds. 10-second belief reset. Take a breath. Declare you can do it. Take one step forward. That's all it takes. You pause, take a breath, tell yourself you can do it, and you take one small step forward. Doubt is a signal that you're growing. Doubt is data. And the 10-second belief reset interrupts that fear and reactivates your clarity. Because confidence doesn't come first, action does. So take one small step today and then celebrate your progress because you're amazing. You are absolutely amazing. You are continuing to work to be the person that you want to be. And you're working to not let self-doubt get in the way. And that deserves to be celebrated. If you want a little challenge, for the next 7 days, every time doubt appears, use the reset. Pause, breathe, declare, act. Pause, breathe, declare, act. Remind yourself that you can do this. I believe I can. I am smart enough. I am strong enough. I am pretty enough. I am all the things that you need. I believe I can. I believe I will. And take one small step, no matter how small the step is, and then record it in your proof log. Give yourself credit for what you are doing. Because when you train your mind to move in moments of uncertainty, when you don't believe in yourself, belief stops being something that you have to find. And it becomes something that you create for yourself. And 10 seconds is all it takes to shift from hesitating to leading your life. So I cannot thank you enough for joining me today. If this episode gave you the reset you needed, share it with a friend who's been second-guessing themselves lately. We can all do this together. The world needs fewer doubters, not fewer believers. It needs faster believers. And now with the 10-second belief reset, we can all do it. So subscribe, leave a message. I would love to hear from you. Leave me a review. Join me next week in the Belief Lab for our next episode and your next belief upgrade. And remember, fear stalls, belief moves, and one small move can change everything. See you next week.